Helo a chroeso I Sir Gâr Greadigol gyda fi, Melanie Owen, a heddi dyn ni am trafod gwyliau ffilm. Dwi'n yn ymuno â fi heddi ydy Kelvin o Gŵyl ffilm Bai Caerfyrddin a Edwards-Behi o Abertoir, sef Gŵyl ffilm horror o Aberystwyth. Hello and thank you for joining with Creative Carmarthenshire today. My name's Melanie and today joining me to discuss all things film festivals is Kelvin from Carmarthen Film Festival and Edwards-Behi from Abertoir Film Festival based in Aberystwyth. Thank you both for joining with me today.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Hiya. So, first of all, I want to just find out a little bit more about what it is that you both do within the film festival. So, Kelvin, I'll start with you. What is Carmarthen Film Festival all about? Well,
Carmarthen Film Festival is initially set up by myself to promote Welsh filmmaking and to promote up-and-coming new filmmakers, grassroots filmmaking. That was the initial idea. And then over the last 10 years, it's just grown to include films from all different genres, really.
That's amazing. And what is it that you do within this now?
All right, well, I'm the founder. I'm also chief executive as well.
Great.
And also we set up a limited company, so I'm one of the directors of the company as well.
Brilliant.
So I deal with the day-to-day running of the festival, especially leading up to the festival dates, and kind of giving jobs out to different roles within the festival as well.
Amazing.
So I overlook it day to day.
A big role then for, because a festival is no mean feat to organise,
No, it's quite the responsibility really, because each film, I care about each film that comes in. Everybody's treated individually, and it's responsibility really, because the filmmakers hand over the care of their film to us. So it's our responsibility to kind of look after that film and look after the filmmaker and to give them the time they deserve, because they've put the time into making the film.
Absolutely.
So every film that comes in, that's submitted, be it, whether the submissions are 300 or 1,000 submissions, every film is watched.
Amazing. And you're one of the people who
watch the film,
watches that and is a decision maker then?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's very important. It doesn't matter how big a festival gets or how big we get as a festival, that will continue for as long as I'm in charge anyway.
Absolutely.
And beyond as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely come back to that.
Okay.
Nia, I wanted to ask you, what is Abertoir Film Festival, first of all?
Well, Abertoir is a horror film festival. It was founded by Gaz Bailey in 2006 here in Aberystwyth, on the basis of the fact that he's a big horror fan, and he wanted to put on a special event, held a sort of weekend event. I attended that first year just as an audience member. I was studying film in Aberystwyth at the time, and the festival's grown from there. A few years in, I just took a chance and went, need any help? And I'm co-director of the festival now, alongside one other co-director as well. And so we're a 6-day festival now. We're predominantly film, which is both brand new pre-release films and also classics. But we do make the most of the fact that when we have a physical event, we're based in Aberystwyth Arts Centre, which means we've got different spaces we can make use of. So we will have live music, live theatre, talks, Q&As, pub quiz, things like that. So we try and make the most of our location as best we can as well. But it's a celebration of all things horror.
Amazing. That sounds, although very niche, it sounds very engaging. And how important is it, do you think, to have a festival with that kind of niche?
To me, it's very important. And over the years of kind of getting to know our regular audience, because we do have quite a sort of regular core that attend every year, you really get this quite sort of humbling experience of talking to people about why they decide to take a week off work, travel up to Aberystwyth, stay in Aberystwyth in November, which is not your usual holiday time in Aberystwyth. And it does really mean a lot to people. And for example, my enjoyment of horror as a genre is because it's such a broad genre, actually. I think people certainly can have a very specific idea of what a horror film looks or feels like or sounds like. But I enjoy horror because of all the kinds of things you can really explore within the genre. And so we try and reflect that in our programme. I think people appreciate that. And for me, it's quite an important genre to kind of, not to get too sort of philosophical about it, but it's quite an important genre to kind of think about big ideas, sort of human condition stories and things like that. So yeah, I think it's important, but we do have a lot of fun with it as well. It's a very fun event, I like to think. So
it sounds very fun. It sounds very fun. I'm an Aberystwyth girl as well, so I might have to, dabble in it in November if you have it this year. Kelvin, you obviously have such a passion for film and within Wales as well. Do you feel like it's very important to kind of portray that identity of Wales within the festival?
Definitely. It's we support all film, but particularly films made within Wales and Welsh language film as well, to give them a platform. Just give them the same platform that any other an Italian, French language film, to give them the same publicity, to give them the same opportunities, and to promote Welsh language film to the rest of the world. Especially, in this part of Wales, where a lot of, recent Keeping Faith and all of the different productions have happened, over the last 5-6 years. I think it's very important to promote this part of Wales and to bring people from other corners of the world to Carmarthenshire, to Llanelli, and to promote indie film. I think that's very important that we promote indie film, because indie film is as good as any big blockbuster, and I think it's got more heart in it because the filmmaker put their heart and soul into the film, no matter what the budget is, whether it be £2 or £2 million. The heart and soul goes into that film. So promoting the area, promoting Welsh language film, promoting Wales as a country, as a nation, and promoting the film and the filmmakers within that nation, within Wales as well. So that's why I initially started up the festival, is to promote us as a country, if you like, and the filmmakers within that country. And we do the same for everybody else. It's not, we promote everybody, no matter where they're from.
Yes, but with Wales at its core.
Yeah, definitely. We're not. That's right. We try to be as bilingual as possible. I'm not a Welsh speaker, and I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 of the team now that are Welsh, but we're looking at developing and promoting that as well through the festival, and to give people the opportunity to see Welsh language film.
Absolutely, because, it's something that I spoke about a couple of sessions ago with Rada from Film Hub Wales about accessibility.
Yeah, that's
because accessibility is key, isn't it? And I would say that I'm personally a film fan, I'm a cinema fan, although I would say my taste is probably quite mainstream. And although I'd like to think of myself as educated and so on, I might think of independent film and get a little bit nervous, get a little bit scared because it sounds highbrow. So, like Nia, how do you as a festival go about being accessible to those people who aren't necessarily all kind of au fait with those types of films?
I think for us, we have quite a sort of mix of things in our programme. So we often show quite a lot of foreign language horror films, for example, and sort of, again, it comes down to that sort of conception of what horror film looks like. We often show quite sort of slow burn, maybe a little bit art house, like you're sort of talking about. But we sort of, everything gets the same treatment in our programme, if that makes sense. So you might have your sort of classic Hammer horror film followed by a Q&A or a talk, and then you might have a sort of slow burn thriller from Argentina or somewhere like that, and that might be followed by like a slasher film or something like that. And I think that can kind of help, and I think festivals themselves are important sort of forums for people to explore different types of films like that. Although I think, as you say, festivals themselves can also come across perhaps as a little highbrow or inaccessible if you're not used to those contexts, because the viewing context at a festival is quite different. But I think once you're there, at least in our experience with Abertoir, we kind of get people who arrive for the first time and then they're like, oh, this is great, actually, I feel quite comfortable. And I think we're fortunate that our venue, for example, is quite small. We're all on hand to, greet our audience as they arrive, and there's no distance between us as organisers and audience, and things like that are really important. And we try and get that sort of vibe, I suppose, across through our publicity and social media as well. And I think in terms of things like copy, simple things like writing the copy for your films, not being sort of jargony about it and not sort of, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with being intellectual by any stretch of the imagination, but it's like not being off-putting about it either. So not being, keeping the newcomer in mind in everything we do, I think, is quite important for that.
I suppose that really feeds into like my marketing background. I was thinking it was ticking all the boxes because I think I always work with, no matter what the industry or the company, I always try and think, what would this sound like to somebody who knows nothing about it? So you could be an expert, couldn't you? But if you know nothing about it, how would that appeal to anybody? But obviously having a relationship with audiences and engaging new audiences is so important. But Kelvin, how do you work with the filmmakers themselves? How important is that relationship?
Oh, it's very important to create a good working relationship with the filmmakers and for them to trust you with their films, like I said earlier. We as a festival have never charged for people to come into the festival, so some people can come and watch the films, as many films like for free. So there's no barrier there. So accessibility for people to come and see the films is, just 100%. Working with the filmmakers, we promote their films through social media. So what the film platform we use, submission platform, is called Film Freeway. So all the information, the filmmaker uploads their films, the synopsis, all the information, necessary information, we can basically promote their websites, promote their social media. They send us JPEGs or their posters, so all that goes into our website, goes into our social media, so we're promoting the programme, so they get that extra publicity for their work then. And then we put the programme up, we put so people can see that and choose the films they want to see, and again with links to trailers, so all that information for people to take in before they come to the festival is there for people to look at.
Brilliant. So the marketing toolkit is sent to you, and then you do with it.
Basically we do. They send a press kit.
Yeah.
And then we just use either all of it or just to take bits out of it and use things which are relevant.
Yeah.
To promote the film.
And if there was a budding filmmaker who was looking and thinking, I'm going to create my first independent film and I'd love it to be shown at Carmarthen Film Festival, how would they go about making that happen?
Well, basically, they just, first of all, they'd need to set up an account with Film Freeway. They upload their film onto there, all the information, their press kit, a bio, and then they just submit their film into the festival. It's as simple as that. It's really that these days, over the last 5-6 years, maybe 7 years, a lot of submission platforms have popped up. Film Freeway, Fest Home, there's a lot of them now. As before, there was only one without a box, which was really expensive for people. But now it's they can set up an account for free, I think, on Film Freeway. And then it's just paying the submission cost then into the festival. If they're a student filmmaker, it's something like $25. We deal in dollars because that's the easiest way to do it.
Right.
So it's $25 for somebody, especially a student filmmaker, to submit into the festival. It really is as easy as that.
It can be done. It can
be done. Yeah,
it
can be done. Yeah,
yeah.
It can be done.
Nia, you talked about how with Abertoir, you are located in the Art Centre in Aberystwyth, which is obviously an independent cinema. How important is that to the identity of Abertoir that you work in partnership with an indie cinema?
It's vital in our case, I think. I mean, practically it's quite vital because Gaz, the festival director, works at the Art Centre anyway by day, Abertoir by night, Art Centre by day. And so, we're very fortunate that over the years that the Art Centre has really supported what we do with Abertoir, because it would probably be, in the early days, have been quite easy to go, no, I was going to come to a horror film festival in Aberystwyth, come on now, But they've stuck with us, and that's been really important to us. But also, because it's a multi-use venue, it gives a lot of personality to Abertoir as a festival. I think, there are a lot of horror festivals in the UK, relatively speaking, a lot of really great horror festivals in the UK as well. And I think something that helps Abertoir stand out is that we can say, right, well, now we're going to the theatre and we're going to watch a storytelling event or something like that, or we're going to go up to the bar and we're going to have a pub quiz and things like that. So it really helps. It helps us personalize the festival. Personify the festival a little bit. It becomes its own thing, and we decorate our cinema, which I think a lot of places wouldn't let us get away with, I think, and that even people who don't attend our festival will come over every November when they know we're happening and go, we just wanted to see what you've done with the place, because it's always so entertaining to see, because we'll transform. We had a sci-fi horror theme one year, for example, so the foyer outside the cinema basically was transformed into sort of the inside of a spaceship, kind of, and things like that. And people who don't necessarily enjoy horror films, but who are otherwise using the art centre, will sort of just come over and be like, oh, we just wanted to see what's going on. We're not directly interested in horror, but we like that you're here and that you're happening, which is really lovely every year, actually. So yeah, having such a great venue is super important to us.
I can absolutely testify that what they are saying about the decoration is true. I used to go to disco dancing in Abertoir Arts Centre, and I remember once one of our rehearsals, it was just completely decorated clearly for the festival. We'd been shoved in on a Tuesday afternoon trying to do our disco dancing with this Abertoir decor basically around us. It was fabulous. It was excellent. But Kelvin, do you find that the partnership with Indie Cinema is vital to your festival as well?
Yeah, we work with Carmarthenshire theatres, the Furnace in Llanelli. We went to them in 2019, and they've been absolutely outstanding. They couldn't do enough for us. Nothing was a problem. The technicians there were, the head technician is a big film fan, so he watched every film. Before he went through every file, he made sure that the sound was right, the aspect ratio was right. He spent hours and hours, which he didn't have to do, but he did. So, it was real, for a big organisation, it was a personal service.
Yeah.
And, if you went to one of the big multinationals, or say the Odeon or something, you wouldn't get that. Simply just wouldn't get it. So, definitely vital for a local festival, which is on an international platform, if you like. Working with local organisations, local independent cinemas, independent theatres, I think is vital, because they bring something that a multinational just simply wouldn't, because they'd just be interested, in sending a bill at the end of it all, and that'd be it. If you want extras, you've got to pay. Whereas with the Furnace, nothing was too much trouble for them. We had the theatre, we had a film called Trollbridge. It was a kind of a last-minute thing, because we saw we didn't sell. So many people wanted to come and see the film. Big Terry Pratchett fans came from all over the country to see the European premiere of this film, and we had about 350 people there. So they just opened. I said, look, 2 days before, we need the theatre. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. And they supplied the staff and everything to make sure that everybody was safe and everybody had a good time. It was just amazing.
Superb. That human touch, isn't it?
Yeah.
That human feel to it, that personalised touch. You mentioned, with Carmarthen Bay Festival, as you founded it, so you've seen it right from the very beginning. How have you noticed the shift in kind of attitude of audiences towards indie film? Has there been a shift?
Well, we get a big problem in it's all about educating, I think, what independent film is about. People aren't quite sure. People think of art as, they think of highbrow, all these weird things they think about. That's one of our biggest problems, really, is getting people in to watch the films, even though it's free. And there's people can come and watch documentaries or comedy, poetic, whatever their interests are. There's a film there to suit what their kind of interest, if you like. But yeah, we try to market on Facebook, on social media, but it has, since we've gone into the Furnace, the audiences have increased, definitely, because they associate that kind of environment with film anyway, whereas before, when we were in the Stradey Park Hotel, even though, it was a great place to hold a festival, it didn't really suit film, really. But now that we've shifted into the Furnace, I think people are starting to come on board more, the general public then, you know, definitely. Yeah.
Nia, I wanted to pose to you a similar kind of question. Obviously, it's quite different with Abertoir because you do have such a specific niche. But have you noticed like a difference in viewing habits? Do you think that perhaps streaming, having that accessibility to whatever film or programme you want anywhere in the world, you can have at your fingertips more or less? Have you noticed that that has created a difference in viewing habits of your audiences?
I think it's definitely had an impact on the films that are available to us, I would say. For example, so like I've mentioned, you know, we screen quite a lot of horror films from around the world, and increasingly those will end up on streaming platforms before we can kind of get our hands on them for a festival screening. But for example, we've had audience members who have come to the festival and, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago and gone, this is the only time of year I watch subtitled films. But then now they're like, oh yeah, I watch all this kind of stuff at home now, you know, and it's that kind of getting to experience something in the festival does, I think, have an impact then on what people might watch outside of the festival. The streaming one's really interesting because our policy, for example, is that we screen pre-release films, so films that people can't see otherwise yet, because, you know, the festival is a special event, so you want people to see films they can't see somewhere else. And not just yet, but I do wonder as that changes whether that we might have to rethink that policy a little bit, because we do have now, you know, you think, well, if people have seen them at home, is there still value to offering a cinema experience for watching that same film, you know? And I do think that there might be an element of that. So for example, our festival last year was online because we couldn't have our venue open, of course. And we surveyed our audience because we thought that's the best way of knowing what we should do. And people were like, if we can't have a physical audience, a physical festival, give us an online festival, you know, just something. But some of the films are very cinematic, and you just think if people have watched these at home, they might want to see it again in a cinema, you know. And I think people who tend to come to our festival do appreciate that sort of cinema experience. So I think even if people's relationship to watching a film is changing, I think festivals in particular are that kind of event cinema. It's not quite the same thing as going to see a single film at a cinema, although I love doing that as well, of course. It is an event in and of itself, and I think that holds quite a lot of value even as people's regular film viewing habits sort of shift and change.
Absolutely. Right, we do have time for one question that has been submitted, and it's from somebody who has said that they are, and I'll pose this to both of you, that they are a budding filmmaker for the future. Do you recommend that they volunteer at a film festival to gain appropriate experience? Nia, I'll start with you because you said that you basically ask us, do you need any help? And here you are. Would you say that for a filmmaker this would be a good experience?
I think so. I think it is on the, you know, you get to experience a lot of different aspects of the sort of the film culture and the film industry through a festival. You know, even if you're sort of a volunteer that is essentially doing on the ground work during the festival, tearing tickets or manning a reception desk, what have you, you get to meet a lot of people at film festivals. And I think as a budding filmmaker, that's really important. So for example, with Abertoir, any of our guests are just there amongst the audience essentially, and it's a great way to, you know, say hello, you're networking, and it's guests who might be very well established filmmakers, or it might be people who have made 1 or 2 newer films. So you've got an opportunity to meet people, and I think as much as sort of hands-on practical experience directly involved in filmmaking, obviously that's quite important as well, that sort of networking aspect, without necessarily it being formal networking, is really useful, and volunteering as part of a festival is a great way of doing that.
Kelvin, I saw lots of nodding.
Yeah,
as
definitely.
a founder, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. For a young filmmaker to come to a festival, be part of the team, so the opportunity to network, to get to know people, to see how a festival works, the inside of how a festival works, to get hands-on experience. And who knows where it might lead. You might be invited to be part of the permanent team of the festival. You know, we've had a student helping us from UWTSD this year. It's been absolutely excellent, and you know, as a former student of UWTSD, you know, I've met like-minded people who are now part of CBFF. So it definitely works to you know, find a local festival that's near to you, and to just send them a message, and more often than not they'll say yes, come on, you know, come and help out, you know. Yeah, I'd recommend it definitely.
So if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, Kelvin, in regards to Carmarthen Film Festival, how would they do that?
It's simple as admin@cbff.org.uk.
Brilliant. And how about you, Nia, if anybody wanted to get in touch about Abertoir?
Mine is nia@abertoir.co.uk, or we're on most social media as Abertoir Fest, and it's me on the other end of that as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much to both of you. I cannot wait to enjoy both festivals, actually, and I hope that you both have a great next one. Yeah. Thank you so much to everybody who has joined me today. I'll be back next week with Adam of Adam and Rhwydwaith and Alex from Superbox, and we'll be talking all things food and creativity. Diolch yn fawr am ymuno gyda ni. Hwyl fawr.